Hey man, it's me, Kevin Smith. We're here at the IMDb at San Diego Comic-Con 2019, and look, it's the director of it, Andy Muschietti. Give it up for him, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Kevin.
You are like king of the con this year because it too is on the horizon. And Scare Diego, did it happen last night? So you were here for that. How was it? And for those at home who are like, what's Scare Diego? Tell them what that is.
It was phenomenal. We brought the new trailer and we showed them 3 clips from the movie, and the reaction was really, really phenomenal. You know how it is after making a movie and being, so long in that journey, immersed and isolated and alone. You finally get to show it to people who are like fans of the genre and also fans of the first part, and like it's phenomenal.
Now this is the thing I keep hearing about the second one. They're like, oh, it's darker. It's so much darker. But I saw the first one. You kill a fucking kid in the first 5 minutes. Like, how can it be darker than that, for heaven's sakes?
Sorry.
It was a wonderful movie that the world fell in love with. Did you expect it? I mean, you certainly had high hopes because you knew what the movie was. But this was something that had been out as a book, had been out as a miniseries. People were familiar with it, and yet it was almost as if Pennywise was born anew for an entire generation who didn't know the other stuff. Yeah. You've redefined it, and you are it for a lot of people. Yeah. Did you know that going in?
Well, I went into the project basically staying true to my experience, to my emotional experience, having read the book when I was a kid. So there wasn't a lot of. It wasn't too much of a complex creation for me. It was like basically sticking to the feelings that I had for the story and for the characters. And of course, there was a more sophisticated creation visually when you start trying to figure out how the clown looks, how this kid looks, how these kids look. But yeah, it was. I can't remember your question.
It was unimportant. We got a lot of content. That's all that mattered. When you're working on something like Chapter 2, this, for those who don't follow that closely, last one, bunch of kids. This time, it's the kids grown up as adults. You're going to have flashbacks, from what I understand, still involving the kid cast and whatnot. But after having made like what's essentially a kid's film, they let you make a grown-up movie version of it and stuff. Was it weird to make a transition? Like, were you suddenly like, oh fuck, I could curse on set now?
Right. No, there was a lot of cursing on number 1. Like it was a kid's story, but it was still rated R.
Right.
So these kids were like completely like out of control and so happy about it.
Right.
They were saying the F word and the C word and every kind of like They
were given full license to go nuts.
Yeah. I mean, not the F word. The F bomb was it's countless in the movie, in the first movie, and mothers were scandalized, of course, and they would like go back. When we cut it, we say, "What did you say?" Like,
they were scandalized by the language. Never mind the violence on display.
Some of the mothers. No, yeah, exactly. This is the state of things. Yeah.
When you mentioned before, you're like figuring out the look of Pennywise. Does that like in something like this, a giant project like this? Does that fall down to ultimately you, or is there a committee where you're like, well, I got to answer to these people as well? Everyone gets a vote, or you're like, no, it's ultimately up to the director?
No. It was like I was given freedom to basically like create as much as I wanted, and the second they understood that how much this story meant to me and how like in how much incorporated I have it in my own self, they let me go for it. That's what was so great about working with New Line, Warner Brothers. It was really they let me go crazy with the budgetary limitations, of course,
right.
That you always have.
Well, maybe on the first one, but on the second one, I'm sure they backed up the money truck and they're like, go nuts.
Sort of, yeah. I mean, it's never enough, as you know, Kevin.
No, I don't. I don't know anything about making successful movies. That's why I do this job, so I can find out.
But you know about running out of money, right?
That's true, yes. My
of
whole
course.
life.
So
absolutely.
It doesn't matter how big it is. It's like you always run out.
That's what I hear, honestly. Like we were making my movie recently and stuff, and somebody who worked on like much larger movies, our line producer. Yeah. I was talking about like, we never have any time. We never have enough time. And she was like, Tracy, her name is. Tracy was like, I just came off an $80 million movie, and we didn't have enough time. Like, it doesn't matter what the budget is, the problem is always the same.
I know, it seems like you always have less money than the ambitions of the project. Right. This was a bigger movie. It was like the story had more scope and size. And we were giving, like, to be honest, a fair budget, fair amount of money. I shot 86 days, which is something like unthinkable. I was
For one or two?
For two.
Are you serious?
Only for two.
86 days?
Yeah, 86 days. So it was
just for comparison for those at home, I shot Jay and Silent Bob Reboot in 21 days. It is like 4 times the movie of mine.
Best things come in small packages, man.
You got to work with Jessica Chastain. Like you kicked off your career with her and Mama, and then did you know you were going to cast her when you were working on part 1?
At some point during production of part 1, you know, we were like basically with the cast, we were speculating with the kids, speculating about who would play what, and the idea of Jessica, of course, like popped up in my head, and Sophia was on board with it, and because we have a relationship, we're friends, and so it was. We showed her the movie very early on in the process before even we released it, and she saw the movie and she was on board.
Get out of here, man. That's sweet.
So
all right, so with the success of it, of course, comes It Chapter 2. And then they're just like, you can do whatever you want. Did I hear today you talk about somewhere, talking about the Howling?
Yeah, it came out of my mouth yesterday.
Why did it come out? I love the Howling, and I've always felt like this is a movie that could, like, and as much as I love it, I'm like, you could easily make this movie now. Nobody's ever done like there have been sequels, and I don't want to raise
there are a bunch of sequels. I'm a big fan of the original.
It's an amazing movie.
It's an amazing movie.
Written by John Sayles, directed by Joe Dante.
Joe Dante and Rob Bottin doing the effects. He was a real visionary. So it was like the work.
It seems to be in the history of werewolf movies.
Yeah.
Everyone, of course, always remembers American Werewolf because Rick Baker won the Oscar, and the transformation was amazing, and it's had a bigger scope to it.
Yeah.
But I, as much as I love Werewolf, I loved Howling storytelling. Sayles' script is really brilliant. It's really chilling. It's horror, but there's also like humanity and humor in it as well. And Joe Dante cast a host of old Hollywood actors and stuff.
Oh yeah, Patrick
McGee.
McGee.
Easily remake it. So is that real, or is it you just hypothesizing?
Well, someone asked me, what movie would you remake, and what movie would you think that it should be left alone? And I said, like, of all the movies, like I mentioned Near Dark as a movie that shouldn't be remade. Like
Near Dark's a wonderful movie.
My favorite vampire movie that shouldn't be remade, but my favorite werewolf movie, I think it should be remade because it's a great movie, but I feel like it could be there's areas there that can be like heightened, especially because you see it now and it's very much an 80s movie.
It does, unfortunately. I mean, it's aged wonderfully in terms of storytelling, but the look of it is just like, oh, that looks.
The look of it, if you get like Rob Bottin out of the question, and the cinematography is a little bit through the Venetian blinds and everything is very 80s, but it's so and
somewhere Joe Dante's like, you know what, man, I tried hard.
Joe, if you're watching, this is an amazing movie that inspired me, incredible, and the whole generation. But I won't use promised lenses, promised filters for this one. Anyway, I'm not saying that I'm going to remake it, but it was like an expression of desire that just came out of my mouth.
I would support you doing it, seeing how passionate you are about it. But there's one job that I think you do have it's not even rumor, they've been talking about it. Are you directing Flash for Warner Brothers?
It too is going to be amazing. That's just like, I can't say enough good things about it.
That answer came out of you so fast. I'm going to say yes, based on the speed.
It's a little bit. It's a little too early to talk about Flash. It's an incredible thing, but maybe if you catch me a couple of months from now, I can start like talking about it.
I will, because I'm a massive Flash fan. So I will catch you and be like, tell me everything. I'm going to after this interview, I'm going to be like, tell me things.
Damn.
When can they see It Chapter 2? When's it happen?
Sorry, what?
When's it open up, Chapter 2?
Chapter 2 is opening on September 6th. So we're almost like less than 2 months from the release. And the trailer came this morning. The new trailer came this morning. People are excited. I am excited because of how excited they are. So there's a little bit of a bouncing effect of feedback.
I shouldn't say this, but I want to thank you on behalf of myself and everybody here for scaring the shit out of us. Give it up for Andy Muschietti, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent job.
You're great, man. Thank you. Thank you very
job.
much.